Hello everyone. I think we are on time to start. It's 17 hours Hong Kong. And the first thing I want to do is thank you to all our speakers today in this session, Sustainability Challenges for Hotels in APAC. It's a pleasure for us as EcoStars, one of the largest certifications for hotels globally, and an AI-powered platform with a strong technology to facilitate the transition to technology, not only on certification, but also on data management and reporting for hotels. To welcome some top speakers from top companies. They will have now a minute to introduce each one. But we have Bunshan Chai from Trip.com Group. We have Carlota Galvan, head of ESG at HBX Hotelbeds Groups. We have Darasbir Singh, VP of Engineering at Indian's Hotel Company. Jose Carlos Benzanilla, CEO of Greater China for Great Place to Work. And Samantha De Melo, Director of ESG APAC for Hyatt. So maybe in this order, Chai, Carlota, Darasbir, Jose Carlos, Samantha. We have 5 minutes for you to introduce each other, what you do, and what are your key messages for representing your company today.
Sure. Let me start. So good afternoon, good morning, or evening, everyone from different around the world. My name is Chai. I'm the MD and VP of International Markets for Trip.com Group. It's my pleasure to be here today sharing and learning from all of you. I hope to be sharing some of my insights, but more importantly, it's a discussion where we can actually gain a deeper understanding of the current trends and developments in our industry, particularly in the sustainability challenges for hotels in APAC. Thank you.
Hello, I'm Carlota. First of all, thank you for the invitation. It's a pleasure to be here. I have been involved in sustainability for more than 10 years. I started in a Spanish beer company, then I worked for a consultant manager at PricewaterhouseCoopers, and now I've been here in HBX Group for 2 years. HBX Group is a B2B company, a global leader in the travel tech space. We drive growth for our clients, partners, with removing friction from end-to-end travel experience. We have around 4,000 employees worldwide, and our aim is to make the travel industry a force for good.
Hi, I'm Darasbir Singh. I represent Indian Hotels Company Limited. It is known in the international market as Taj Hotels. I am responsible for operation of all the hotels in my region, in my country, and at present I'm having a portfolio of more than 300 plus hotels. IHCL is having a portfolio of 300 plus hotels. We are having hotels in 12 different countries with 150 plus locations. And I work mostly in the environment sustainability programs. I run programs for my organization, and thank you for the invitation. I'm keen to learn from all the panelists about the ESG in the APAC region. Thank you so much.
Well, hello everyone. Thank you for having me. I'm quite excited to be a piece of this puzzle. I am a little bit of the foreigner on the group. I run Great Place to Work. I'm not necessarily a hotel or a hospitality company, but I help a lot with all the processes that are within the culture of any workplace, and particularly hotels is one of my favorite personal industries. I'm a happy regular user of all of you guys, and I really enjoy as a personal thing to visit and value and evaluate, just for the fun of it, the service of hotels myself. So I hope I can contribute in a very valuable way today. Thank you for the opportunity.
Hi everyone, I'm Samantha. I oversee sustainability and ESG for more than 200 Hyatt hotels in the Asia Pacific region. At Hyatt, our global framework for sustainability is called World of Care. care is really at the center of our company, and that extends to not just our people, but also our planet and the way we run business. Quite excited to be on this panel and have a discussion around some of the challenges that we are facing in our hotels, and some of the insight that my other panelists will be able to share as well. Thanks.
Thank you for the introduction. As you can see, we have a very comprehensive panel, right? Two chains, one Indian hotels company represented by Darajbir, giving the knowledge in APAC, but especially in India, of how hotels can be operated more sustainably. Also, Samantha representing Hyatt, one of the largest chains globally, giving this other vision of both many countries in which Hyatt operates across APAC, but also how an international company drives ESG strategies, and they are gone to earth through profiles as Samantha. Two travel distributors, top of them, one of the largest APAC travel agency, if I'm not wrong, Trip.com Group. Second, one of the largest, if not the largest, bank globally, represented by Carlota with hotel-based HBX groups. And finally, to not forget about the social aspect of sustainability, especially with regards to employees, Jose Carlos from Great Place to Work. So thank you again. Let's start with the second block, actually, and it's a very good way to prepare the ground for the later blocks. So, how to define sustainability and what are the 5 main KPIs to measure for hotels? I think the best idea is if maybe the travel distributors can start. The idea is to have an open discussion, so feel free to interrupt each other and build up on what everybody's saying. I would suggest maybe the 2 travel distributors can start. So maybe Carlota or Shai, do you want to give your viewpoint on this?
Yeah, happy to. So from my perspective, sustainability covers a wide spectrum, right? Including governance, environmental impact, community engagement, cultural preservation, as well as economic benefits. So a couple of years ago, Trip.com Group, we introduced what we call the low carbon hotel standard to track sustainability in the hotel sector through a few key KPIs. So this initiative basically measures 2 things. One, it evaluates the hotel's carbon emission. Right. Second thing, it also assesses the efforts of hotels in terms of how they are lowering future emissions, right? By, for example, implementing renewable energy solutions, as well as things like LED lighting and thermal insulation. Besides that, we also focus on things like some of the social aspects, like supporting the local economies, maintaining gender balance, and enhancing employee well-being. So, for example, in mainland China, Trip.com Group actually builds country retreats. So in many of the country retreats, what we do is we actually source nearly 100% of our purchase from local suppliers. Right? Employee benefits to us in our group is also very important. So, for example, within our group itself, women take up about 58% of our workforce. The middle management, we have a 44% of women in that workforce. And additionally, we've also introduced what we call our childcare subsidy, up to an amount of over $130 million to support our global workforce in terms of working families as well. So we believe that these KPIs are very important for hotels, and not just for hotels in the sustainability or emission areas, but also the well-being, the economy in overall, and also gender balance. So I think it's a wide spectrum of different areas that we focus on from our perspective.
For my side, I would like to apply the definition of sustainability to the tourism. So what is sustainable tourism? It is one to takes a full account of current and future economic, social and environmental impacts to satisfy the needs of not only the visitors, but also from the industry, the environment, and the local communities. In other words, finding the right balance between the environmental, economic, and socio-cultural aspects to ensure the long-term sustainability of the tourism sector. And for me, like Shai said, it's very important the KPIs for calculate the carbon footprint of the hotels, also the consumption of the water resource and the social impact it generate the hotels. But also I want to add the level of working climate of the company, because now I think in general all the tourism industry has a problem to talent retention and attraction. For that reason, it's important to measure the climate of the workforce and also understand the necessities of and the expectations of the employees.
Thank you, Shai, Carlota. Let's move maybe to the chains. Samantha and Darashvir, I have the feeling that both of these travel distributors have mentioned carbon footprint. So, what is your definition of sustainability? What are your main KPIs? And hopefully, carbon footprint measurement and compensation is one of them.
So for me, the sustainability refers to the ability to maintain or support a process, system, or activity without depleting natural resources or harming the environment. And as you correctly said that as hotels, we are quite focusing on the carbon footprint reduction as well as water stewardship. We are working very closely. Apart from that, now there are other KPIs are also coming very closely in I think in APAC region. It's sustainability disclosures. With the new regulations on the horizon, companies must refine their sustainability disclosure to meet the demands. And the circular economy, we are very closely working on the circular economy, where we would like to use the waste where we are using waste, where we are reusing all the waste, and then we are removing the we are going for the glass water bottles. We are limiting our waste, where we are limiting our waste, and waste reduction remains on our main goal. Renewable energy is the another way. We are at present around 46% of our hotels are getting renewable energy either from solar or water, or from the different resources, and the wind also. We are working very closely on the sustainable supply chains, biodiversity impact, and water stewardship is a very important goal as of now. As of now, our organization is focusing on 100%. We will be recycling all our water by 2030. That is our long-term goal. At present, we are standing at about 46%. So we are trying to retreat all our water inside the hotel itself, and would like to use it either in gardening or in the cooling towers or in the plumbing lines. We are using it everywhere. So each and every hotel has to become net zero water by in the long term goal. So these are the few KPIs that we are working very closely as of now.
From my side, I think my definition of sustainability for a hotel group is quite simple. It's making sure that we're working towards reducing negative impact and at the same time increasing positive impact in the communities that we operate within. As a large hotel group, you can imagine more than 200 hotels. We operate in quite a lot of different countries, cities, different communities. So reducing impact, negative impact, increasing positive impact it's a very simple way to understand how a hotel can operate more sustainably, or rather more responsibly. In terms of KPIs, yes, like Darashvir mentioned, energy and water consumption, renewable energy, grey water. I think water is something that as hotels we kind of tend to forget about, because I think there's a perception that water is cheap or easy to get. So we kind of forget that, water is something that is a finite resource, that we need to be focusing on water consumption. In terms of waste, yes, so regular waste, recyclable waste, that's all very important. Something that wasn't mentioned yet is food waste. As you know, food waste, when it sits in landfills, when it decomposes, it releases a lot of carbon emissions, right? So that one item of waste is actually quite an important KPI for us. We do have a global 2030 goal to reduce half of our food waste sent to landfill or incineration by 2030 compared to 2019. So that's a pretty big food waste diversion goal. So that's something that all our hotels in Asia Pacific are working towards. not just to reduce, but at first actually to just track. Because I think data recording is something that a lot of hotels struggle with, especially when it comes to waste. You know, things like energy and water, we have meters for those things, right? We can put in sub meters for those things. But with trash, with waste, sometimes it has to be manual weighing and manual recording. So that's something that is a big key KPI for all our hotels. And lastly, something that Carlota mentioned is the societal or community metrics, right? So training hours, retention rate, like she mentioned, and development progress. These are some indicators of how you can look at how your business is supporting your both internal and external communities. Sometimes we forget that it's not just the external communities that we need to be supporting, but also our internal colleagues, our internal stakeholders. Those are all part of our communities as well.
Very nice points. Apart from carbon footprint, yeah, very well mentioned. The part of the water, very cheap all over the world. So a resource to be taken into account beyond the financial impact. Waste, very well mentioned, Samantha. And before reducing, you need to track. And special attention to the social indicators, both gender balance, mentioned by Chai, workforce climate mentioned by Carlota, retention that you mentioned, Samantha. Any other we are forgetting, Jose Carlos?
Well, there are many, but before I jump right into that, I wanted to say that I think it's a very good aspect that it was mentioned that sustainability is not only about the green part, but it's also the financial and social part that brings us actually towards the ESG part. So bringing the conversation to my angle, I think that sustainability has and will always have, no matter if it's the green part, this financial or the social, the whole origin of everything is in the people and the team that are contributing, that are participating with us, and the right environment, the right culture, the right practices, the right policies that are implemented, the right way of delivering it and leading it from the management team, and the whole organizational culture will lay the foundation for the people to actually not only contribute professionally to deliver all these goals that were mentioned specifically about the ecological sustainability, but they will be willing to do because the whole understanding of why they're there and why they have to perform in such and such way, whatever they do, it makes sense to them. They feel proud about it. They feel that they belong to it. And that is so, so key. Obviously, today we're talking about hotels, but it's so key about pretty much every workplace where you actually have to consider that no matter which task of the hard kind. I remember I was in a conference with a speaker actually from the industry of hotel, and he was saying, forget about the hard skills and the hard tasks that we have to accomplish. If we want to talk about the really, really hard stuff, it's to manage how the people welcome and perform the soft skills or making everything else happen, right? So the real sustainability, the real origin of sustainability from my angle is how you manage and empower your people, how you trust your people to develop them, to deliver all that is involved about sustainability. To your question, Jose Luis, the most important KPIs in social indicators, I would say definitely is labor practices, all the practices and policies that shapes the environment and work environment. Community engagement, Samantha was making really, really good comments about how sustainable is an organization with the community around. Health and safety, we have a lot of issues with health today, particularly mental health, training and development, and diversity and inclusion. Not necessarily in that order, but those are the very, very important 5 social indicators we believe are super important.
Thank you for that, Jose Carlos. There was a beautiful word you mentioned, which is pride, right? And I think that can define all what is behind. So pride about working in an organization. That's something beautiful indeed. We have a pretty crowded agenda for today, so let's move to the block number 3. The idea is not to deep dive too much on them, but to have an open discussion that can serve for future thinking about from all of us. So the third block is ESG regulation for APAC hotels, and what can we learn from the recent European legislation with the EU Green Claims Directive. If at some point this type of legislation that Europe has started can at some point reach the APAC countries, and hence hotels be affected by increased legislation, regulation, and reporting. Maybe Darashbir, Samantha, you want to start from the hotel point of view?
Yes, the ESG regulations for hotels or any other sector helps in cracking down of the greenwashing, and it helps creating a standardized reporting platform which is transparent for all stakeholders. If I talk about India, we are started giving our sustainability reports in the format of BRSR, that is being started by the government of India, or that is business responsibility sustainability reporting, in which all the my company reports the sustainability data that covers the ESG components, and then it get published in the and we send this report to the authorities, and it becomes and it is being it is a reported document from my organization. So I think that in India we are quite sensitive towards the ESG platform, and in my organization we are already having a ESG platform in which all the hotels put their data, that is water, electricity, and waste data, and all the harmful gases or all the other gases are recorded. Then we are quite sensitive towards the requirement towards the environment, and we are taking all the steps to ensure that we follow the ESG regulation of our of India.
So if I can add, I think regulations are very necessary, if I can call them evil, in corporate sustainability, because it is very complicated. It is a very long, arduous process, but it's a very necessary process to ensure that businesses are held accountable. With regards to the EU Green Claim Directive, I think it's a really big step for the EU as a region to be tackling misleading claims, right? We all know education and awareness is so important when it comes to sustainability, and companies need to be held accountable to what they're saying to their customers, right? If we're not held accountable, then companies can go out there and say anything they want. And that actually works against us when we need our customers to know, what we want them to really know and what the truth is. In terms of impact in Asia Pacific, Singapore does have an advertising code that guards against false advertising. This is a generic code, but it also includes environmental claims. So it guards against environmental claims as well. So I'm quite sure we'll start seeing similar regulations in other markets throughout Asia Pacific, very similar to how we're already seeing reporting requirements for large non-listed companies in countries like Australia and New Zealand. Singapore and Japan are already talking about it, Hong Kong as well. So it's really only a matter of time till it affects us in the different parts of the world that we come from. And like Darashbir said, we just need to be ready for when it happens, right? So start recording now. Start building that habit of recording, tracking, and reporting, and just build that into your day-to-day. Because if we wait till the regulations come, we'll be left scrambling, right? So right now, we just need to start doing the practice and building those good habits. And eventually, when it does come to our region, the hope is that our hotels are ready to report back for these things.
Thank you, Samantha and Darashbir. Shai, Carlota, increasing regulation, positive, negative, how it affects APAC? Do you plan to request the hotels more than what the regulation says? What are your views?
Yeah, so I think plus or minus, right or wrong, I think is something that, as whether Samantha or even Dasha said, right, I think it's a necessary evil. It's something that we have to implement and getting ready for. So because if you look at Europe, right, they have implemented these measures to combat greenwashing, mandating a rigorous scientific basis and also a process, an auditing process for companies to make sure that they do the right stuff, right? So I think it's also an indication to APAC hotels to take this seriously, because I think so far I mean nothing against APAC hotels, but in general APAC hotels, they don't take this as much of a serious work. They look at it more as a brand image rather than a part of business operations. So I think it's very important that they embed it as part of their daily operations of the hotel itself. On a more localized manner, I think for hotel groups operating both in EU as well as APAC, I think this means that those stringent standards in Europe will also extend the practices in Asia Pacific. There are many global hotel chains like Hyatt or regional chains like some of the other hotel groups. They already have hotels across Europe as well as APAC, so they actually can learn from each other, or they can share best practices across the different regions, so that it's very easy for the APAC hotels to start to adopt some of these approaches itself. I mean, from my perspective, I think the approach that we have done or they have taken in Europe itself emphasize the importance of authenticity, as well as making sure there's impactful sustainability measures for the global tourism industry, right? I think just now, Jose Carlos also mentioned about the soft aspects. What we have seen in terms of some of the regulations in Europe is really very much the scientific, the hard aspects. But I think we need to be able to also trigger this down to the soft aspects, right? How the employees look at it, how the gender balance, how the well-being, how the environment is being looked at, how it impacts the softer part, which I think it will take longer, but I think having the scientific part will help to trigger down to the softer part as well.
And in our case, the new European regulations are full applicable to us, but for our luck in Spain, since December of 2018, there exists a regulation about reporting and verification about all the no financial information of the company, and that is already a lack, because we have this culture of reporting. That is why, like Samantha says, it's super important to start to report, to advance to the regulations. And also you need to think all the companies in APAC that has business in Europe, probably in a collateral way, needs to report some information. In our case, for example, we have a project in the next 2 years start to demanding some KPIs from our clients and suppliers. That means that all the clients, independent in where are, probably needs to provide this data, no? For our side, the data in general is important to evaluate the performance in sustainability and also to be competent between the different companies. If you think all Europe, this law exists to create comparability between all the companies in Europe. That means that the traveler from Europe in a few years, the concerns about sustainability and the culture of sustainability grow very fast. That means that when the travel visit some countries in APAC, intend to found the same sustainability facilities in the hotel or in the tourist activity or in the destination in general. No, I think we need to work to be ready for that.
Thank you, Carlota. And
Yeah.
yes.
Yeah, allow me to add something again from my angle. They were mentioning that regulations are the necessary evil. Well, and I was laughing because somehow it's what we fight. We have to fight everywhere. And from my perspective, regulations are boring, and for most, complying is challenging. So we have to make sure that we create the right culture for them to tackle the tasks related to these regulations. Let me tell you a quick anecdote. The other day I was in China and I saw on the desk of a customer service agent, a sign that said something like, "This is me with my salary level attitude." So imagine, think about that. How can you commit to such high standards of the regulations if your people are bargaining in a passive-aggressive way with the employer all the time, right? I think these ESG regulations, among all the other natural regulations from the hotel, are super big challenges in general and demand knowledge, will, skills, and definitely, and most importantly, the right attitudes from your team members to comply with. They have to be inspired to respond to the why and what for should they do things in a professional way. And you have to select them well, train them well, coach them, mentor them for some period, and then fully empower them with a lot of trust, actually, so they can deliver, they can perform, and they can deliver fully aligned with what is demanded for the regulations and the whole issue of this that I know and I just heard they are stringent and they're becoming even more challenging. So the best culture you can have, the better performance you will definitely get.
If I can just add, go ahead.
Go ahead, Samantha.
Oh, sorry. I just wanted to add, I also think that there's a gap between the teams on the ground, like in the actual hotels, versus the teams that do the reporting. So the teams on the ground actually don't know that we need to report because
Great
it's not
point.
part of their, so it's not part of the day-to-day. But I agree, like if they don't have the right attitude approaching it, it will, it's very hard to get any kind of progress. And like you rightly said, Jose Carlos, like finding your champions, right? Inspiring teams to want to do better, because it's very hard to get people to want to do better because that requires them to step out of comfort zones. And that, I think, for hospitality being such a long-standing industry, that's very difficult to do. So approaching it in a different way is also something that, at Hyatt we're trying to do. Trying to approach kind of seemingly menial topics or menial tasks in different ways to hopefully try to inspire colleagues to look at it in a different perspective, and hopefully that kind of spurs them or triggers a bit more empowerment and commitment and interest to work on different things. The thing is, it extends beyond just sustainability, right? This whole thing about empowerment covers every single aspect of a company, of a business, of a job, regardless of your industry. Sorry, go ahead, Chai.
Yeah, I was going to say something controversial if you don't mind. Is that I mean, look, we are all for empowerment, we are all for trust, we are all for bottom up, we're all for making sure that people take ownership for the work they're supposed to do. But I think we also need to understand in APAC is not just APAC. We have countries and culture that are very conformist. We have culture and people that really wants to take instructions, right? So I think if we take just a bottom-up approach and say, okay, it's all about empowerment, we may not be able to drive a lot of progress. So I think it's a mix of both. We need to have regulations. We definitely need to have rules and so on. We want to have empowerment, but I think we need to adapt it into different culture and different approaches so that we can get get success in different ways of working, so that we can drive success across APAC itself. I mean, I don't know whether this is controversial, but I just thought it's something that I should bring up because I don't think it's a one size fits all, and I wouldn't want to say that in European or American countries it's more bottom up or in APAC it's more top down, but I think definitely there are nuances across different countries.
I think it's assertive. Yeah.
Legislation always been on the middle of the discussion, right? Let's move to the fourth block because else we will not have time. We could have one session only about regulation. Maybe it's needed. So what about corporate travel versus leisure travel? Who is more conscious? Who is gonna drive the interest of hotels to become more and more sustainable? Who takes hotels more attractively if they are sustainable? A person that goes with his or her family, or the corporate travel driven by the business needs? What do you think?
Well, let me jump first here and then all the experts in the hotel industry do their piece. here again, I'm a user, right? And I'm a user as a corporate and as a leisure user as well. But one program that we are running with many of our customers is that among the package of best practices, we strongly recommend for all the companies to push for their people to take vacation and to do the corporate traveling in a sustainable way, no matter if it's leisure or corporate. But if you're going to push your people to take advantage of the holidays, well, do it in a consciously way to be a little bit consistent with what you are trying to do in general in the company about being consistent, definitely, right? So I think there's a lot that companies can do educating, if I may use that word, I hope is not controversial, but educating their executives, their management, their in general, all their personnel to be conscious about the moment and the way they travel and how they contribute to the selection and to the demand of the hotels that are serving them as suppliers, as providers of this support for their people when they are traveling corporate, that they do have this consciousness, right? So I think it's a very nice synergy that can be built in that way. I just wanted to make that comparison, right?
Thank you, José Carlos. Darashbir, Samantha, corporate travel, leisure travel.
Okay, I think for corporate travelers, guests that are very, very widely travel, so they basically travel for work. I think this group of customers or this group of guests, they just are generally exposed to more initiatives and more touch points when it comes to sustainability in hotels. So naturally, their level of awareness is higher, right? And if these people also have families and they have kids, that go to school and the kids in school learn about recycling and they bring it back home. So I think it's a mix of, how accepting a guest is with regards to sustainability, whether it's a hotel sustainability initiative or not, right? And I think ultimately, whether who's more conscious really boils down to level of awareness and education. So like for us, we do know that we have some gaps in terms of touch points in our hotels, especially in the rooms that guests can touch and feel, that we are doing something good. Because our guests don't see our recycling in the back of house. Our guests don't see our food waste reporting, right? They don't see the reductions in energy and water consumption, right? So finding touch points that guests can truly experience and understand that this is something that a hotel group is doing, I think that's actually quite key. And that's, I think, one of the ways that as an industry, we build awareness around that hotels can truly be more sustainable and operate more responsibly. You just might not be able to see it. Yeah. I didn't really answer the question, but I hope that gave a bit of insight.
No, it's a very good point. Not only be sustainable, but convey it actively so guests can perceive it.
So it's a combination of all platforms, whether it is travel management companies or online booking platforms or operators. Consumers are preferring sustainable options now. As per the current scenario, I agree with Samantha that corporate travelers have a higher contribution towards sustainable travel because they are themselves are filing the scope 3 consumptions also. So they're a little more they're a little more towards the sustainable travel. But I think even the leisure travel is also not demanding a lot of sustainable options, like in the guest rooms, as Samantha was saying, that people looking for the guests are only concerned about the guest rooms because they are staying maximum time there. And I think that we are removing all the plastic elimination. We are putting the glass water bottles. I think that is the biggest touch point that guests is having, that we are removing the plastic waste even from the bathroom amenities. We are totally gone for the non-plastic amenities. So it really helps us sharing the great connect with the guests, and guests are quite appreciating about that we are removing the plastic from all over the guest touch points. And I think that the leisure as well as the corporate travelers are quite inclined toward the sustainable options. And I think going forward, there will be a bigger demand coming from even from the leisure travelers also.
Carlota, Chai, something to mention with regards to corporate versus leisure?
Yeah, in my case, I think it's impossible now to say what is more sustainable of both of those, of two, but I think it's easier to grow the sustainable travel in the corporate travel, because based in numbers, for example, if you think now more or less the 90% of the tourists wants travel more sustainable. But if you check the numbers of what of the travelers can pay more for sustainable options, the percentage is only the 40%. No, that means, for example, if you in your company create a policy to intend to introduce, for example, only sustainable hotels in the options that you give to your employees when they need to take a corporate travel. If you, for example, put mandatory to compensate the carbon footprint of the flights, for sure your employee do that, because the 90% wants to do, but not the 90% wants to spend more money for that. No, that means that all the corporations will have the possibility to create more corporate travel sustainable. And also, I think after the COVID, the growth of the remote working and also the use of video conference are reducing more the business travel. And the business travel are taking another mission. No is only to create deals, or no is only travel to visit clients. For example, you use the corporate travel to create engaging with the employees. You use the corporate travel to create better culture of the company, and you can use these moments, for example, to introduce sustainable awareness between your employees, or including between your other stakeholders like clients or suppliers. No, for example, in HBX Group, we start to transform the network meetings, traditional meetings with different stakeholders, to a volunteering activities. And I think now the corporate travel is a power to introduce the sustainability criteria.
Yeah, thank you for that, Carlota. Shai, please.
Yeah. So I think, I try not to repeat what some of the other panel has spoken, but I think the awareness part, definitely from my perspective, the corporate travelers are definitely more aware because they're more well traveled. And I think Carlos mentioned about, or Carlota mentioned about, the what do you call it, the ability to purchase travel products more from the corporate travel point of view. From what I can see, right, is, first of all, again, don't quote me on this, but corporate travelers are definitely less price sensitive than leisure travelers, right? So when you sort of incorporate sustainable cost into the travel product, generally you expect higher adoption from the corporate travelers because of the less price sensitivity part of it. But having said that, right, if I share some data from our perspective, we just did a white paper from our corporate travel arm called TripBase, and it reveals that about 90%, 91% of our corporate clients actually are choosing travel products that minimize carbon emissions, or really anything from transportation to accommodations itself. And then for leisure travelers, they are still valuing sustainability. They are still looking at what travel options that are sustainable. But the thing is, when we launched our Green Travel Report in 2023, we saw that 74% of travelers, while they recognize the importance of sustainable travel, only 53% of them practice it. And I think one of the things I mentioned, one of the obstacles is cost, which I think Carlota mentioned. I think the other one is they're also unable to be clear on, what are the labels, right? What are the offerings that's out there to be able to actually sign up for some of these sustainable offerings. So we see that there's still some obstacles in that area for the leisure travelers. And we also see some regional differences. So for example, if we look at mainland China, influenced by the 2060 carbon neutrality goal, more than 78% of travelers are already prioritizing lower emissions, which is much higher percentage compared to the overall international markets of 66%. So again, the regional nuances also comes in. But one clear trend is that I think across the board, whether it's corporate or leisure, we are seeing a higher uptake, higher awareness, higher embracing of this sustainable transformation.
Good point, Chai. It seems like you all agree that corporate travel is still a bit more sustainability sensitive than leisure, being company policies, less price sensitive, more traveled, and that all of them demand more sustainability, but there's still few willing to pay more, right? The importance, I think, is the trend. Every time more and more. So that's our hope. Let's jump to the last block of this session. And I would ask you to be a bit concise in your responses so that at least we can tackle one or two questions at the end. What about technology? From EcoStars, our perception is that IoT and AI are the key drivers. IoT for monitoring, AI for understanding, distilling, and generating reports. What do you think? What are you doing with these tools in your companies? Anyone wants to take the lead? Maybe, okay, Carlota.
For my perspective, the data I think is indispensable for create awareness and work on sustainability of any company. For example, when you know that the tourists pay more attention to the sustainable hotels, or for example, that the performance of a hotel with a sustainable certification is higher, helps to us to combine another suppliers that we have to do this transition, no, to attach a sustainable certification. In another hand, I think the artificial intelligence of the IoT, for example, can help us to reduce our waste, to improve the provision of the staff, the food forecasting for the restaurant, for example, in a hotel, and also the real-time data can also to help us to detect some risk and also now one of the more important topic in the travel industry is the overcrowding of some destinations. For example, I think the data can help a lot to us to share the people, to intend to create alternative routes inside tourist destinations, and also that can help not only the perspective of the tourists, also can help the local communities, the society of the places, and all this stuff, no? And see, we talk about reporting every time. The reporting, and now with the new European law, you need to have more data, and the requirements of the clients of suppliers about sustainability also is higher. For that reason, to have a good software to collect this data and to validate this data can give more agility to the ESG department, no? If you think also in the small properties that probably don't have the same resources than the big brands, no, like Hyatt or whatever, no, have this small software to simplify the life of this hotel, I think is the key for start to create these reportings and to start to collect and track this data, no? And also, I think, for end, is a little bit dangerous, the IA, because could be exist a problems with human rights and possible cyber attacks. That is why we need to be sure about the technology we implement, and we need to parametrize all the things to be sure that we are compliant with human rights, and also we take care of cybersecurity.
Thank you, Carlota. That has been Samantha from the hotel point of
Quick
view.
one for me. Yeah,
Sorry,
I think that, can you hear me? Sorry. Three challenges, right? So first of all, I think in some properties, also in the hospitality industry, there's still quite a number of corporations that they don't have a dedicated team to actually handle this area. Second thing is, I think verification of data is very, very time consuming. And the third one is we need to align certifications across diverse regions or different regions itself. So the answer to your question, I would say yes, AI will definitely help because it can help us streamline data management. It can help us enhance the verification process, and definitely it can also improve the overall management of ESG within this sector.
Fully aligned, Chai, and very concise. Thank you for that. Darashbir, Samantha, from the hotel point of view, technology.
Yeah, the three main ESG challenges, as everyone is saying, that for me, it always remains energy and water intensive are the main challenges. The sustainable supply chain management is difficult. When I say about this, I think scope three is a little challenging to achieve as of now. And third remains the skill development or the community outreach. So I think these are the three challenges that we generally face. But apart from that, when I talk about AI and IoT, we already did a few pilots in our hotels, and we are getting very good results from the artificial intelligence, and we are able to save a huge energy, savings up to 20%, and we are able to see the data coming on the dashboard. So it really gives us the instantaneous data, data, and then we can see that how my buildings are performing with the help of AI, and I'm able to plug all the gray areas of my energy as well as the water usage. And with this, with the AIs, with the AI involvement, I think we can really make a huge difference in reporting at the corporate level, in reporting at the unit level, and we can easily see that where my energy consumptions are going and how best I can utilize this consumption with the more precise instantaneous data coming on my system. So I think AI and IoT are the new technologies that needs to be implemented. And after seeing the pilots for the last 2 years, I'm quite hopeful that that is the way that we should be adopting.
I know we're running out of time, so I'll keep this very, very short. So I just want to share an example around how we track food waste data. So Carlota talked about, tracking data that sometimes is a challenge with manual tracking. So we have actually asked our hotels to look at food waste management systems. So we've offered them 3 options, and some of these systems are AI enabled, which means that when the chef brings the food to the bin, to the device, it takes a picture, it takes a weight, and the AI automatically classifies either the category of what that dish is or actually the actual dish itself. And all of that gets sent to the cloud. And essentially, it just keeps building on itself. And with AI being a learning device, it learns over time. So the more we use the machine, the more it's able to better recognize our dishes. And ultimately, at the end of the day, because we have these images, we can actually see like the top 10 items by weight and the images itself, or top 10 items by cost. With food, it's very difficult because we don't have evidence to see what it is or how much we're throwing out. So with systems like this that are AI enabled, it helps us and actually our chefs also determine what is it that needs to be adjusted. Is it a portioning size? Is it a portion size issue? Is it a preparation method issue? Are our chefs just throwing away, too much of the watermelon fruit, but not enough of the skins, for example, or vice versa, right? So having technology can really help us with, tasks that nobody really wants to do. I don't expect anyone to go sort through food waste or sort through trash, right? That's also a massive human rights violation. So having technology to help us tackle some of these issues is very, very helpful for, hotel operators, especially at a large scale. Yeah.
All right. Well, my part is more focused on the challenges of ESG, and I focus on the social indicators, right? And if you want to improve something, you have to measure it and measure it properly. Social indicators are slippery and moving targets, so you have to do a really good job doing the assessment of what is happening on those and being able to benchmark, to find opportunity areas, to find strengths, and have action plans on how you can put things forward, move things forward about it. So I think it's a lot about what we do in Great Place to Work. We help you to do the right assessment, put everything into the right model, into the right frame to help you with this slippery social indicators to have the proper comparison for improvements and for better implementation, better culture, and better results.
Thank you, Jose Carlos. We only have 4 minutes left. We have received a few questions about technology. Valentina has helped me to understand them. Just to be very concise, one of them can be AI. AI. You all have mentioned it's an opportunity. It's also a threat, or you don't see it as a threat? And please be very concise on your 5 responses.
Maybe I'll just give a very quick. It is definitely an opportunity. In terms of threat, I wouldn't go as far as to call it a threat. I think there are ethical issues around using technology, especially in terms of crediting artists, for example, or crediting copywriters, right? There are ethical implications that companies need to be aware of, but I wouldn't go as far as to call it a threat, at least not from a hotel operator perspective. It does help to minimize some of the workload from our colleagues, but again, we need to find that balance between using it as a tool and not taking it too far. Yeah.
Yeah, and also another thing I think we need to take in consideration is about the carbon footprint of this technology, like the blockchain, for example, are both technology very interesting, I think, for sustainability, one for tracking all the value chain and etc., and the IA obviously for reduce some manual things and also to use less resources, no, for example. But for another way, the consumption, the energy consumption of both technology are hard. And I think also we need to think in what way we can compensate or we can do this offsetting of this, or in what way we can optimize this energy consumption. And also the human rights, no? Like Samantha said, we need to take care about that for our employees and also for the information that this technology use.
Well, for me, definitely it's an opportunity. And it's just that we have to be very careful and be sure that in the foundation of whatever solution we implement with technology, IoT, AI, or whatever, we have to have a clear sense of the purpose, the mission, the values that are intended behind whatever action we are going to substitute or implement technology upon. And having said that, I think it's a matter of ethics.
Thank you, Jose Carlos. Chai Darasbir, do you want to give a title?
That's just maybe one or two sentences. I think the thing is AI will not be able to replace human intervention. I think AI can help us solve, get trends, get data, get information, but at the end of the day, the people that's involved, the soft part of it, the people that's involved needs to be able to drive it. So I think it can be a threat if we think that AI can replace the work that we're going to do in sustainability efforts, but it will not be the threat. It will actually be an opportunity if we look at it more as a value add to helping us do our job better.
Darasbir, something to say, or we can close here?
I think I agree with everyone that AI is an opportunity, not a threat. I am always up for the technology because technology definitely gives an edge over over everything. So I am up for that. Thank you.
Then thank you all. We have finished on time. Too much information to digest. We will try to prepare a summary and sent to all of you, including all the assistants, of course. So let's look forward for the next session, and hope to see you there. Thank you very much, Darasbir. Thank you very much, Chai. Thank you very much, Carlota.
Thank you.
Carlos.
Thank
Thank you,
you.
Samantha. Take care.